Hey guys, welcome to Miss.Davis Virtual Class of Excellence. This is for Tuesday. First, I want to start off by saying, with no ugly crying, that I really appreciate all the messages I received yesterday, and probably today too, from you guys just wishing me a happy teacher appreciation. And it's funny, I think I got a few before I realized that's why I was getting these messages, and it was just really sweet, and I appreciate all the love and sweet messages you guys have sent me. It means a lot, a lot. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna be crying. I've already restarted this video twice because I've cried. But I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. If you want to do something for me, I would love to have a message from you guys, not necessarily saying, happy teacher appreciation. I would really like to see you guys. I miss you like crazy. I know it may not seem like that in my videos or my messages, but I do miss you, and I'd love to see what you guys are up to, even if that's just, hey, I'm just hanging out on my couch. I'm playing video games. I'm watching TV. I mean, whatever you guys are doing, doesn't necessarily have to be anything super exciting. Just hearing what you guys are up to, hanging out. A lot of things I've heard this week from students, if you're friends with them, students getting into the high schools that they chose, or know that they're coming back to our school next year, which is awesome, because then I'll see you again next year, just in case we don't go back. Students are still training and doing things for their sports. TikToks obviously are probably on fire. I can't even imagine how many TikToks some of y'all are making. I actually had to get off TikTok because there's so many times I'd see a video and make me think of you guys, and I get sad, like, oh, I wish I could see so-and-so doing this dance in class or in the hallway. It's been tough, and I definitely miss you guys. And if that hasn't come across in any of my messages or videos, that's because it's, I don't want to get upset. I don't want to get you guys upset, because it is really hard to be away from not just your friends, but your teachers, people that you see all the time, other teachers besides me that have supported you and been there for you. I can speak for all of us and say that it really means a lot. We really appreciate it, and we love you guys, and we miss you a ton. I'm not gonna cry. No ugly crying. I'm not gonna cry. Okay. All right. Before I start crying, I'm gonna keep moving on. But again, I appreciate you guys. If you got a free minute and you wanted to send me a cute little picture, GIF, meme of how your quarantine is going, I would love to see that from you guys. Blow up my teams tomorrow. That's your goal. Or throughout the week. I'd love to see what you guys are doing. Again, it's optional. You don't have to. But I would love to see how you guys are doing. I'm thinking about doing something so you guys can share with each other, because maybe you don't have everybody's numbers, or FaceTime. I mean, that's a big thing for us. We FaceTime a lot. I mean, I think I spend a good hour every evening FaceTiming family, because I want to see how Rosie's doing. So it would be great if I could just see you guys a little bit. I don't have a webcam, and that's why you don't see me in the videos. My thing doesn't have a webcam, and the phone quality is trash. So I would love to start doing videos or live chats so I can see you guys and talk to you guys, because it is tough, especially because we still don't know if we're going back yet. And that's going to be really tough if we don't get to see each other one last time. So, all right, that's it for me on that. Emotional stuff aside, I'm going to actually teach now. But again, I appreciate y'all. Miss you tons. All right. Here we go. Here is our day. It's different for standard and honors. So you might have to kind of pause and fast forward based on what you're doing. I'm going to start with standard. No, sorry, I'm going to start with honors, because you're quick. And then standard, I'm going to get into what you're doing. Okay. Okay, so honors. If you're in standard, fast forward to where you see this. Great. Honors, what you're doing today is a short USA test prep. It's hydraulic cycle, review. If you look at it, I don't know if it shows this to you. These are actually 9th grade standards. I took it from environmental science through USA test prep. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but although you guys are, not taking the FSA, like I said yesterday in the video, you are going to be taking biology, and environmental science, marine science, all kind of cover those standards too. So they don't have a marine science US test prep. I wish I would use that all the time, because it would be fire. They don't have that, but environmental science stuff is pretty cool. And it's stuff that, like, for example, when they talk about the law of conservation and protection of species, that's really cool stuff to know. Just especially if you've got some of that wildlife in your backyard, how to protect them and care for them. So some of it's pretty cool, but if you're struggling with it, there are some of the options for you in US Prep. It'll let you retake it if you didn't do well on it. So it is going to be a mastery grade. It's going to be 5 points because it is a little extra work and it is higher rigor because it's technically 9th grade standards. But this class is 9th grade, so I mean, don't let it scare you. But it might be, the wording might be a little bit more intense than what you're used to. So take your time. If you're stuck on something, you can Google and look up phrases or words, or if you're looking at like, I don't know what this is talking about, you can use Google. The answers, because environmental science is so new, you won't find answers if you try to copy and paste the questions. It's too new on USA Test Prep for students and people to share answers. So if that's something that you've done in the past, you won't be able to do it with this one. All right, so I'm just going to show you what that assignment looks like really quick. Give me 1 second. Pause. Okay, so you can see there's questions. This one, it should let you retake the questions. If you get it wrong, it'll let you take it again. There's a vocab. There's 2 performance tests, and they're short and sweet. They shouldn't be super time consuming. If I remember, I made this last week. If I remember correctly, it's matching. And again, if you don't know one of the words you're trying to match, Google it. That's totally fine. You can't obviously copy and paste your answers, so it's not an issue if you use Google. Okay, so it's short and quick, 10 questions, and then you got vocab, which is usually like a little game, and then 2 performance tasks. So this is what you're doing. So you can see it's not a full, large, weekly long assignment with like 10 or 15 things. It's short and sweet. Okay, guys? So that's it for honors. Missing you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Yeah. Honors is good. So best of luck, guys. Message me if you have any questions or if you want to send me some love. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm going back to standard now. So honors, you're out. Okay, standard. Here's what you guys are doing. So you're doing Envision Hydrosphere Part 3. It was open to you yesterday for everybody. If you finished the What a Cycle assignment, you could have started it yesterday. That was optional. It's officially assigned today, due today. Students with accommodations, the due date is in the assignment. Okay, so I'm not making 2 assignments anymore because it's just a hot mess. It assigns things to you twice, and that's super confusing. So I just am putting in the description when the assignment is due for you guys. And if you're confused, just message me and I'll clarify for you. But it's in there for you so you can see when it's due. I also want to clarify, that's also for students that are ESOL students. If you speak more than 1 language and you meet with Ms. Barnes once a year, then you also get those accommodations because you have to translate some of this stuff and it takes longer for you to do. But that's there for you. Okay. And then you can see in the next 2 days, you're going to be fun with some Nearpad. But these 2 assignments are both mastery. Okay. Hydrosphere Part 3 is going to go into the Florida Aquifer, which is pretty cool. All right. I'm going to pause for a second and show you and go through Envision with you guys to help you out. All right, I'm not going to give you all the answers, but I'm going to help you out. Let me pause this video really quick. Okay, so here is Hydrosphere Part 3. Okay, short and sweet. All right, 3 things to do, and I'm going to help you with some of it. I'm not going to give you all the answers, but I'm going to help you. Okay, it says quest check-in. It's not an e-text. Okay. All right, so let's start with the interactivity Florida Aquifer system. Let's get into it. Here we go. Okay, the Floridian Aquifer. This is where you get your fresh water, y'all. Okay, a lot of people. For example, how does the middle of Florida get water? If they're not near the beach, they're not near the St. Johns River, this is right here. This is like all the St. Johns River going up. Jacksonville, you can see where my mouse is. Okay. St. Johns River even goes farther. Yeah, all the way through here is St. Johns River. Okay, pretty cool. And Jacksonville is where it ends, not where it starts. It's a north flowing river, which is pretty cool. All right, so how does the middle of Florida, okay, get groundwater? This is what this diagram is showing you. Where it's red, that's how many gallons of water they use. Okay, so you can see up here, they don't take a ton of groundwater from Florida because they get some from up here. They don't take from our aquifer. They actually take from the Georgia-Alabama aquifer, which is kind of interesting. But here in the middle, these guys rely on that aquifer because they're really close to the ocean, which is all salt water. So in order to get fresh water, they have to take it from the ground. That's it. They don't have any other options. And as you go up this way, we have springs. We have the St. Johns River that helps provide us with fresh drinking water. And because this is inlet, up in here in Tallahassee and Panama along this way, they're actually getting water from the Georgia and Alabama aquifers, which is pretty cool. All right, so aquifers are underground layers of rock, such as sandstone and limestone, that store water and allows water to flow through them. So here's a cool thing. If you didn't know you could do this, you can underline stuff. Wow. So limestone, you see limestone all the time in your house. If your parents don't have a water softener at their house, I'll be honest, I don't have one yet. I'm going to invest in one, I'll tell you right now. So if at your house, or even, no, we have water softener at school, never mind. So if you ever notice, if you're at a friend's house, or even if you're using a sink at a restaurant, which you wouldn't be doing right now, but if you ever use a sink or faucet of any kind, and you notice there is like a chalky white substance on the outside of the faucet that builds up, it looks like calcium, it's actually limestone. It's not bad for you. It just builds up in the water over time because your water is coming from the aquifer. It's coming through the St. John's River, which is connected to the aquifer. The springs are connected to the aquifer as well. So that limestone is building up on the outside of your faucets. Every time you turn your faucet on and run water, tiny, tiny particles of that mineral is sticking onto your faucet. Now, like I said, if you have a water softener, it's softening your water by removing the hard minerals. That's why it's called a softener. I don't have one. I want one. They're great because then you won't see that. But again, if like my shower head, I don't know why it always collects so much. I have to like wipe it off. It's not dangerous to you. It's just something kind of interesting. When I lived in New York, we didn't have limestone. So we'd have the same kind of buildup, but it looked different. Instead, it's like bronzy. It's actually a special sediment in New York. It looks like rust, but it's not rust, and it's not toxic. It's the same thing. It's just a mineral that's in your water. It's really hard to get rid of it because your water passes through it. So luckily it's white versus when I was in New York and it's like this, it's brown. I was scrubbing it all the time. But anyway, that's neither here or there. So kind of cool. You see this all the time. All right, now the math. Okay, don't freak out. Don't freak out. This is like a point on your whole thing. So I want you to attempt it. Doesn't hurt to try some math. It also has the equations right here for you. How many people in the United States depend on groundwater? So if this is telling you a population is this much, how much is the population? So you can just kind of put in, you can kind of put in the equation. I'm not going to get any detail more than that because I'll accidentally give you the answers. So again, try your best. If you're getting stuck with it, just try to do the math. Don't freak out. But it's good to practice the math and see how science and math kind of go together, and they're like babes and BFFs. So, all right, attempt it. Don't freak out. Don't spend more than 5 minutes on this. Okay. Formation of Florida. All right. How could an enormous aquifer that supplies water to so many people be so close to undrinkable salt water? Great question. Thank the limestone carbonate rocks. These carbonates allow rainwater to be absorbed and then collected underground between layers of non-limestone rocks. Check out this animation for an in-depth look at the formation of Florida and the Floridian aquifer. Okay, so I'm sure you're thinking like this seems really boring, but bro, you live in Florida. This impacts you. So later on, we're going to be talking about contaminants in the water system. You would be surprised how easy a contaminant can ruin your water. I mean, we had this happen last year. There was a contaminant in our water area at Duval Charter, and it wasn't our fault. It happened actually 3 miles away from us, and it impacted our water and actually had made people sick. So we had to hand out water bottles. I don't know if you guys remember this, or if you weren't a student with us last year, everybody in the area, every person who lived in that area, worked in that area, was exposed to this water toxin. And it took, I think the initial report said it took 12 hours for it to start making people sick. So 12 hours after the contaminant, people were getting sick. But, you know, people have to get sick for them to know that there's a contaminant sometimes, and that's what happened. So it took JA, I think, 2 weeks to clean that completely up. So that's crazy. But if you think about it, 12 hours, a contaminant could easily be in your water and it would make you sick and you wouldn't know. That's terrifying. Or if you look at, we're going to talk about Flint water crisis and how bad that is. Oh, bruh, it's tough, and it's still going on. So these are things we're going to be talking about. So be thankful that you have an aquifer that naturally cleans your water and stores fresh water for you. Because this is why people in Flint, Michigan don't have water. They don't have an aquifer. They get it from a stream. They get it from a river. So yeah, be thankful. So here you go. Pause me, watch this video, come back. Did you watch the video? Okay, all right. If you watch the video, we're moving forward. Okay, so if you watch the video, it's going to ask you these two questions. I'll tell you right now, it's not fish deposits. I'm like 98% sure it's not fish deposits. I'm just going to leave that one there for you. All right, so I'm not going to help you with these ones because I'm afraid if I give you the answers, it's very easy for me to accidentally give you the answers. So Florida has wells all over the state that can reach the aquifer. What will happen to some of the shallow wells if it doesn't rain for a long time and the water table drops? So what happens if all this water is gone? You know, see where the well goes down and it's stuck in these water. What would happen? There's a lot of answers here, a lot of answers. So it's kind of hard to be wrong on this one. Same thing with the rest of this one. It's kind of all practical stuff that if you really think about it, it's kind of obvious. So this shouldn't take you a ton of time. So there are this question and two more after this. I'm gonna let you do those on your own, and I'm gonna go into the quest interactivity. So come back to me after you finish this, and I'm going to be jumping into quest 2. So pause and come back. All right. So once you've finished the interactivity, you're going to come over here. So this is talking about how particles get into your water and can impact the water. It might be something really small, like a contaminant. Doesn't have to even be a lot of it, and it can cause some pretty detrimental consequences. It can affect the atmosphere, geosphere, and hydrosphere. Okay, turbidity. Now, if you've never heard of turbidity, that's okay. Turbidity, turbid, is how murky, how dark the water is, how dense it is. So, for example, this water is dark. It's brown, so it has turbidity. St. John's River is very turbid. Okay, we have a lot of turbidity in the St. John's River. If you notice, it's always dark. You can pitch black. You can barely see your feet when you stick them into the water. It's so dark. That's not necessarily because it's dirty. It's because the St. John's River is just a big T. It's dyed. The water's dyed from oak trees that are then, they fall off the oak leaves fall off the tree into the water, and then the heat in the water, the heat from the sun in the water kind of cook a little bit those leaves, and it leaves a dye, like a tea. It's also kind of acidic too. The water is naturally acidic, so it also will break down the dyes in the oak leaves, and then it'll make it dark. So in this picture, it's not like the St. John's River. This water is dark because look at the sediment around it. It's red, and the water is brown. Okay, so just because water is brown doesn't mean it's necessarily dirty. It could just be dyed. I mean, you drink tea and it's dark and you're fine. You still have to purify it from bacteria particles inside of it, obviously. So that's the difference. Dark water doesn't mean dirty water. You still have to clean and purify crystal clear water. I mean, we still clean and purify spring water, which is completely clear. Okay, so here's an example of a non-turbid body of water. If you go down to the Keys, or you've ever been somewhere like tropical that's not Florida, parts of upper Florida, and you see crystal clear water where you can see the bottom, you can see your toes in the sand, you can look down, and you can't tell if you're 10 feet or 60 feet because you can see all the way down on the bottom of the water before you go scuba diving. That's not turbid water. That's low turbidity, no turbidity. You can see through it. But if water is murky, there's a lot of particles in it, it's considered turbid. So turbidity can be color, and also, like, imagine this whole thing was green. Imagine this was all green because of algae. That would be very high turbidity. It'd be super thick. All right. So predict one way this could cause problems for the parts of the biosphere. So biosphere is living things that interact with this hydrosphere, such as fish or aquatic plants. Okay, kind of put together what you know about A, fish, and B, photosynthesis to answer that. Okay, so this is just a diagram. It's going to help you with the rest. You might have to keep coming and clicking back and forth to this, and that's fine to help you, but it's showing you, okay, here's possible effects to the hydrosphere. Reduced sunlight entering the stream. Okay, reduced, or even imagine if the sunlight doubled or tripled. How would that impact it? You can think about that too, especially later on. Increased sediment. So let's say there was a really bad drought, so a lot of the water beds dried up. Well, when the water bed dries up, that means the particles are really dry, and it's easier for them to break apart. The particles, the dirt doesn't stick to itself as much. So that means the next time it rains, you're going to have increased sediment coming in here. or let's say somebody dug something up and messed with the sediment, or pulled out trees. That'll all cause increased sediment. Okay, now that sediment goes down, and soot blanketing plants and riverbed. But it says soot, it doesn't say dirt, it says soot, because it's talking about what if there was a forest fire and all the ash, aka soot, laid at the bottom of the ocean. So that's talking about sediment and soot from a forest fire. Okay, and then how that's going to impact these animals. Reduce visibility. It's going to cause gill clogging. It's going to make them hard to see predators. They're going to have health issues. It's going to be hard to lay nests and find mates. So all those things are going to be impacted. Okay, so how might the ash from a fire affect water quality in rivers and lakes? Okay, select all that apply. So there's more, possibly more than one answer. If you're stuck, go back and look at that diagram. Oh, so pretty. Okay, so this water right here has some turbidity, so it has low turbidity, but it's not crystal clear. You can see it's a little murky, but you can still see the fish. You can still see a lot going on, but it has mild turbidity or low turbidity. Instructions. You're just going to decide whether each affected area by the fire will suffer long-term or short-term effects, and then drag and drop the tiles onto the areas affected by the fire. So I'm just doing this as an example. This is not the answer. I'm just grabbing. Is it long-term? Is it short-term? Like, that's all you're doing. Okay. And as you can see, once you pick, it won't let you. Oh, I guess it will. You can switch them if you need to. Okay, so if you think you're wrong, you can switch them. All right, easy. Okay, so how might long-term changes in the biosphere, such as forest regrowth, affect the hydrosphere? So let's say there was a forest fire. Okay, Florida naturally has forest fires. There are certain plants that won't germinate. So if you want new trees, you have to kill all the other plants for them to germinate, so to grow out of the seed. Those trees won't regrow. Some plants will just keep growing or will die and be like dead brush until there's a burn again and the soil is replenished from all of the biomass, all the dead plants and all the nutrients. That plants won't regrow. They have to germinate through forest fires. So they're completely natural. We actually had a forest fire, a regulated and controlled forest fire. I think the week before spring break, before all this happened, there was a really big one in Yulee that they did, and the soot came over into Jacksonville, and it smelled like a massive campfire. I don't know if you guys remember that, but so imagine that the forest is now regrowing after a forest fire. How would that impact the hydrosphere? If there's more plants, how is that going to affect the water? All right. Which long-term consequence will take the most time to recover from? There are a lot of fantastic answers to this. Here's the thing. A lot of people will ask me, why did I get a low grade on this? Did you actually make a sentence? Because if you just type in whatever or say IDK, it's gonna, no, it looks for sentence structure and automatically gives you a low grade. So make sure you are trying to answer these questions. 1 or 2 sentences. Okay, last but not least, local residents. So this is, think about your own neighborhood. Use the graphic organizer to describe different ways the local residents might be impacted by the changes in the hydrosphere. Consider the different ways the lakes and rivers are used and how an increase in might impact that use. So the impact of fire on the hydrosphere could also impact what? Okay, so we're going back to that example I gave you with the forest fire in Yulee. How's that going to impact the hydrosphere? It wants 4 examples of how the hydrosphere is going to be impacted by a forest fire. It could be impacted in a positive or negative way. So they don't all have to be positive. They don't all have to be negative. It could be a mix of things. Okay. All right. Last but not least, you have your quiz. Obviously, I'm not going to help you out with this. Make sure you're taking your time, think about the questions. They're going to push you a little bit, but which of the following are characteristics of the water cycle? Choose the 3 that apply. So make sure you're paying attention to the directions. You're not trying to race through it. And it's only 6 questions. You guys got this. All right. That is it for me, guys. I hope that helps you. I know this is a long video. Oh my God, 25 minutes. Oh, whew. But I know some students really struggle with this. And you gotta remember, this is 25 minutes for both classes, and you guys are getting taught some of this material too. So please message me if you have any questions, comments, compliments, or concerns. I'm here for you. This is the only Envision for this week. Yay! All right, best of luck, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Hasta la paz, me balls.